Hello and good evening, everyone. How is it going, y'all? It's your boy Marcus, and you're watching Blind Snap Gaming. Welcome back to a brand spanking new episode. For this episode, I'm going to be ranking every single card that has come out in 2026. And I'm only focusing on the newer cards, nothing from collective packs, right? Only except for cards like Lindley, because I ended up getting him during the Marvel Beach Bash season, which was last month. So he did debut this year, but we're going to rank through a whole bunch. As a matter of fact, we've got a lot to go through, like a lot. The only two that I won't really include are going to be the new guys, Mary Jane and Spider-Man End of Day, or End of Day Brand New Day. However, I think once the season does come to an end, I might add these two and maybe some of the other ones that come out later this month. So, yeah, I've gathered up pretty much every single card that I have every single new card that has come out this year, at least the ones that I own. As a matter of fact, I'm still missing at least like one or two from each season. Like, I know for Dragons, I'm missing two. I'm missing one in the, what is it? I'm missing one in the Guardians Greatest Hits season. I'm missing at least a few in at least like three cards from the at least like three cards from the Origins of Apocalypse season. I've collected every single one from End of Days. I am only missing two from Daredevil Crimson Twilight, and then I'm only really missing Submariner from last month. So we've got a lot to go through. Now, I'm not going to read off every single card's ability. I'm just going to go through them like by memory. But I will mostly just kind of share my overall thoughts on the cards. And just my experience with them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kickstart with the first card of the season. That is going to be Dragon of the Moon. Now, if I can remember correctly, this dude, I think he has an ability that, he steals power from even costed cards in both your hand and your opponent's, which, I thought that was a pretty interesting idea when he came out, but then when I actually playtested him, he wasn't really that good, and I haven't really touched him since. But I think with the new Scorpion card that's coming out later this month, let me look it up. When is he coming out? I should have Snap open. Nope, I do not. But I think the new Scorpion card that's coming out should be a good pair. Let it load. I think it should be a pretty good pair with it. When is he coming? I think it might be week 2. Let me see. No, it's gonna be Boomerang. The new Scorpion comes out. Oh yeah, no, he's gonna come out July 21st. So he's coming out a lot later. I think he will be a really cool addition to this. So I'm not going to necessarily say that he's a terrible card, but I'm going to put him in needs more play because I got to really do a little bit more experimenting on this dude to really see where he's going to fit. Lindley Iron Fist. So he basically adds this card called the Sword of Fushi. It's a 2-cost. Hold on, let me pull him up. He's a 2-cost 3-power card. So that's like this sword that will basically give him some additional power. If the sword is right next to Lindley Iron Fist, it's definitely unique. But I feel like he's only really good in like move style decks. It'll be kind of hard to play him in any other shell, especially if you can't really. Especially one that doesn't really have anything that can move the sword, or at least move him. Maybe if you play a deck where you play a card like Beast that returns it to the hand, then I can maybe see that being a good good way to do it. But other than that, though, I don't know. I think it's fine. It's okay. This dude did also debut in the Dragon Season 2. So definitely a decent card at best. After that, we have Lockheed, which I think he did recently get a change in the OTA, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did, right? Let me check the recent OTA. No, I think it was the prior in last month. But I know he did get a change to where he's now a 2-1. Was he a 2-1 or is he 2-2? No, he's a 2-2. And I think, if I remember, it's like if you play a 1-cost card at the end of the turn, he'll basically deal a little bit of damage. And he was another decent card. It's not my favorite, but it was pretty fun to mess with at the time. So, overall, I think I'm going to put him in average, too. After Lockheed, we've got the season pass card for the Dragon season, Shu Lao the Undying. Now, when this dude came out, I think it was originally like a, what? Was he like a 5? I think it was a 5/9, and he would give your cards, like +3 power for like every 2 cards that you would play. So if you played like 3 sets of 2, you would basically get like 9 power, but now I think they just reduced it down to just like +2, which is still fairly strong. But yeah, when he came out, this dude was very, very dominant in the meta, like very, very powerful, and he was pretty fun. However, haven't really played him much since, so I think I don't want to really put him in great yet, but I do feel like he still has a place in some decks. In fact, he might even be good with some of the newer cards that are out this month. I might have to experiment with him a little bit more. So I'm gonna put Shu Lao in. The needs more play tier. Dragon Lord. I'm not gonna lie. When he came out, I kind of wanted to hate on the card because his ability just felt too simple, right? It's like, oh, add a card from your hand to this location. I'm like, that seems kind of basic. But he's actually pretty solid, man. I've played him in a good handful of decks. At least the ones that I feel like are worthy. But it's a fairly straightforward ability. He just adds one of your cards to a location. It's kind of like a Jubilee, but instead of in your deck, it's in your hand. So overall, I think he's pretty good. He might not be as like popular nowadays, but at least for me, I think he's a really solid addition to the game, despite how simple he was. Majestic Wingbeat, the first skill card of 2026. So it's a 1-cost skill that basically gives your card, I think it was like +2 power, and then if it's a 5-cost or more, it basically gives it -1 cost, which was definitely a good answer to help out with Zombie Galacti. But I'm not gonna lie, with cards like Punisher, War Machine, and some other like cost reduction stuff, I really haven't found a good like use case for this skill card yet. But overall, though, really, really solid. But I think again, though, I am gonna go ahead and put it in needs more play because I just haven't really used this much after the season. But like I said, it is definitely a solid card. Mr. Jack Flag. So now we're getting into the Guardians Greatest Hits season. So this was for February. I just say February. And anyways, so Yeah, he came out during the Guardians Greatest Hits season. 3 cost 3 power card, and he has an ongoing ability that basically, like, increases the power of cards that already gained power, which, man, sounded good, but I mean, it was a good ability, but it's just, like, I don't play him in a lot of decks. But in my, like, Ensaba Horde deck, he was a pretty solid addition. But I think after that, though, he's just fine. Plus, I do feel like he was kind of like a beta test to, like, a pre-test to cards like Venus, which I think if it would have picked between this card and Venus, I think Venus would definitely overtake. So, I don't think Jack Flag is necessarily terrible, but I do feel like he did kind of fall off a bit. So I'm going to put him in average. I might also need to make some more decks with him, but based off of my experience, though, I think he's just an okay card, at best. Let me make sure I'm getting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we pretty much got. Okay, Kraglin. This is a card I never thought I would ever use, up until now, and I kind of have to. And it's kind of thanks to one particular card. We'll get to him. But Kraglin is a 3/5 that banishes the top card of your deck. And he'll gain, I think it's like what, plus 4, I think. So he'll become a 3/9, 3 cost 9 power card, and then if it's a 4 cost or higher, he'll give you +2 energy, which was kind of terrible when he came out, right? I did not see any good use cases for him. Heck, even when I got him later on, I thought he was not the best. But I think last month, I thought it was a very cool addition, especially pairing with Venus. So overall, I think he's actually kind of decent. Sure, his ability might be kind of janky. I will admit, it's definitely niche. But if you can find the right spot for him, he is a really fun addition. Oh, man. The man, the myth, the legend, the GOAT. Hold on, where's the guy at? Here he is. Mr. Magus. Oh, boy. Oh boy. Yeah, when this dude came out, super duper janky. I remember he was a 3 cost card, and he had the same ability, right? I don't think his ability ever changed. But, yeah, his cost was not that good. It was terrible. However, a month after, in the X-Men Origins of Apocalypse season, I did decide to experiment with the dude. And you saw the videos that I made. If you've seen the videos where I tested out Magus, the dude's got a lot of potential. He can work with a lot of different decks. Heck, I'm still going to see how he pairs with cards like Venus. And maybe even the new Spider-Man cards. I want to see how he really fares with copying cards like that, because the dude can copy a lot of stuff. It's just really tricky when it comes to cards like Activate, On Reveal, stuff like that. But you know what? This might be kind of insane. He might be like one of my absolute favorite cards of the year, man. I like, if I never experimented with Magus, I never would have had the courage to want to play with cards like Kraglin, right? Like, Magus is now, now that I have Magus, I'm a lot more open-minded to new cards, except for J. Jonah Jameson. I think that one's absolutely useless. I do not see any point in it. Other than, I might play him with, like, in my Destroy deck with Dormammu, and he can just give Dormammu +3 power, and, we're good to go. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the season preview. video that I did. But yeah, it's kind of a bold take, but Magus might just be one of the best cards that I've ever freaking played. He's my new favorite. So again, this is my list. Y'all can't change my list, man. But overall though, Magus is just, he is boss. Like, the potential for this dude, it's almost limitless. It's insane. Now, look, he's not going to fit in every single deck. But my gosh, is he really, really freaking fun. So, yep, that's where Magus is going. Now we got Moondragon. Now, Moondragon's ability was kind of interesting because she started off as like a... Did she ever get changed? I don't know. This card was kind of okay. The only reason why I got the card was to kind of experiment with their ability because I thought it was interesting. What was it? I think it was like a 2-cost card. No, I think its ability was an end of turn, and it's like if you played a card, if you played a card that basically used up all your energy, she'd gain power from it, which was definitely pretty cool. Like, I played her with a Havoc deck, and it did work at times. But I think nowadays, though, she doesn't really... I can't really find any good use cases for her. So... I don't know. I feel like she might be... I might put her in terrible. You know what? I think this is another case for needs more play. Because I feel like there might be something. There might be something that she can do outside of it. So yeah, I think that's where Moondragon's gonna go for now. After Moondragon, we got Star-Lord, Master of the Sun. This was another case. In fact, I think this dude was also like a... No, he was a 4. I think it was a 4-cost... A 4-cost 9? Or... He was like a 4-9 or like a 4-8. I don't remember what his base power was. But this dude's ability was awesome because it would give you... Like if you had unspent energy... You'll get that much energy back. And he'll also gain that amount of power. Right? So let's say you had like 3 energy left over. He'll give you plus 3 energy. And then he'll also gain plus 3 power from it. But they did end up nerfing that completely. So now you only just get the energy and not so much the power. But just like Shu Lao, a very fun Season Pass card. Yes, this dude was the Season Pass card for Guardian's Greatest Hits. But he was very, very fun. And not gonna lie, this is another underrated card that definitely needs to get more play. Because he does have some potential in a bunch of other decks. Major victory. This dude has had a lot of changes. It's nice to see that he's still getting power. But I don't know, man. I don't think this dude really has a good place in any decks. Although he's definitely more useful than J. Jonah Jameson. Yes, I'm going to keep bringing that name up. But, yeah. I don't know. He still feels kind of useless. I mean, maybe he might be good with, like... He could be good with cards like Namorita. No, because I think... I don't know about hand draw. I think it has to just be from the deck, right? It could probably work with Jubilee. Silver Surfer? I don't know. There's definitely going to be room for experimentation. But even then, man, card's kind of terrible. The card is kind of terrible, man. In all honesty. So yeah, major victories going there. The first card to enter the terrible tier. After that, going into major victory, we got Starhawk. This was a 2-cost card. I think it was a 2/2 or something. This is another card that received change. And if I remember his ability correctly, it was like, if you played this dude on an odd turn, he'll give your cards like power on like the left location. But if you played him on an even turn, he'll basically give your cards on the right to... He'll basically give power to cards on the right location. So it kind of just depends on when you play it. It was interesting, but I don't know. I might mess with him some more, but he was just okay at best. I don't really see myself using him a lot. He was just fine. Now we're getting into X-Men Origins of Apocalypse, starting with Sandstorm. So it was a 2-cost skill that adds... Was it 3 power rocks? It adds 2... No, I think it adds power based off... It adds 2 rocks with the power... With, like, the total amount of, like, front row cards you have in play. So, like, let's say you have all 3... Let's say you have the whole front row filled out. So, 2, 4, 6. Both of the 2 rocks that it adds to your hand will have 6 power. We'll both have 6 power, right? So, as fun of a skill as this was, there really is not too much of a purpose with it right now. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, yeah, you compare it with, like, Venus and stuff, but even then, it's like, why would I want to play this outside of, like, maybe, like, I don't know, Marvel Boy and Venus type of decks. I can't really see any other good use cases for it, so I might as well even put Ozymandias in as well, because he also kind of synergizes with rocks, where he'll basically give you rocks like plus 3 power on top of that. It's an ongoing ability. So they're not terrible cards, and as a matter of fact, they're both really fun. But yeah, I'm going to add them both together because they both kind of go hand in hand. So I've got that. And then going into... After those two, we've got Caliban, Horseman of Pestilence. So the way this dude works... Oh yeah, he's a 3/4, 3-cost 4 power card. The way this dude's ability would work is... So this is when Objective debuted. Now, I'm not going to lie. I will say, as far as the whole Objective mechanic, I feel like they kind of rushed into it. Like, back-to-back, March and April, they released a ton of Objective cards, which sounds good, but then it's like you're not really giving players the chance to really test out the new mechanics. So, I don't know, man. I don't think the Objective is really going to have as much of an impact as, like, skill cards are. Because when you look at how skill cards released, they gave players a good gap. So, skill cards were introduced in March for Prehistoric Avengers. In fact, the only card to have skill cards in that season was Agamotto. So, you know, they left the skill mechanic, pretty much locked the skill cards mechanic behind the season pass card, which, was it the ideal practice? No, but I think for players to really, if players wanted to experience it, that was kind of the only way they could really do that, because none of the cards for that season had skills other than Agamotto. And then, you know, in June of 2025, that's when they started rolling out a lot more skill cards, and then after that, they kept on adding more. So from March up to June, they had like at least a few months to test. I feel like they should have done that with objective. But Caliban's ability is actually kind of fun because if you play, I think it's like, was it 3? 3 or 4? I think it was like 3 4-cost cards. He'll basically inflict -7 damage, -7 power, which is pretty hefty. Doesn't really see a lot of use cases in affliction decks, but I'm not gonna lie, man. He's pretty fun. He's a pretty fun card, and I almost feel like he kind of does work with Polaris Horseman of Pestilence. I know some content creators says that Polaris doesn't really work like that, but I think it does. Now we get the Season Pass card. We got the Season Pass card being Mr. N. Sabanur. So this dude was a 4-cost card that he has an objective that where, like, if you fill up the front row cards, he'll transform it into... If you fill up the whole front row with cards, he'll basically transform into Apocalypse Celestial's Chosen, and he'll swap out, like, one of the weaker cards in a location and replace it with a new one, which is kind of unique. For the first card to, like, introduce objective, pretty solid, man. Although the only really deck I really have him in right now is my En-Sabah Horde deck, but I think he might have some potential in some of the other ones. So overall, I think it was a pretty solid card. Even for him being like the first objective card. So there we go, En-Sabah. After En-Sabah, we've got Iska the Unbeaten. So she's a 4-cost 3-power card that has an end of turn ability where if you're losing at the end of the turn, she will pretty much gain extra power, which is pretty good. Yeah, it was definitely a fun card, but not one I use often. But yeah, I think she was another really solid card for March. Now we're getting into April with the X-Men End of Days cards, which this was the first ever season where I've actually fully completed it, because all of these cards were actually really solid. Like, really, really fun. I think the only, like, weaker one for that month was, like, Wolverine. But let's go ahead and start with Ascani-san. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when this dude came out, I kind of didn't really like his ability. I thought it felt a little bit boring. Like, what good use is there for this dude? I actually found a pretty good use, and that's with my Caliban, like, Toxic deck. You know, you play him on 2, you have him win a location, right? Until he adds, like, a 4-cost card. So the way his ability works is, like, for each turn you're winning, the cost of the card that he can add goes up. So it's like you can activate and he'll add a 4-cost card to your location, which was kind of the point why I had him. And you know what? I think he's pretty I think he's an okay card. He's not necessarily my favorite. Well, no, you know what? I think this dude was honestly pretty decent. Mother Ascani, on the other hand, though, she was definitely a fun card, but for me, honestly, I think she was okay. Oh, no, wait, I gotta add Ascani-san. It's gotta be, no. It's gotta be Ascani-san. I feel like Mother Ascani was just okay at best for me. Maybe that might have to do with the fact that I haven't really played with this card as much. You know what? I think I'm going to put her down. No, you know what? I'm going to put her in needs more play because I feel like I need to test out Mother Ascani more. Polaris, on the other hand, was also a really fun card. Like I said, kind of blends in with Caliban. So the way Polaris Horseman of Pestilence works was, if cards had like 5 or more negative power dealt to them, then she'll add a card from your hand to a location, which was kind of a unique ability, and like I said, really pairs well with Caliban. So, card is going into great tier. Storm Horseman of Famine. This card was definitely my favorite of the season, of the End of Days season. A 3-cost 1 power card that has the ability where, if you end 2 turns in a row with unspent energy, you don't have to skip the turns, but if you have 2 turns and 2 turns in a row without spending or without with having leftover energy, she'll basically give cards in that location that she's in, plus the cards in your hand, plus 2 power, which was pretty insane. And you know what? She pairs really well with Wolverine, Horseman of War, which I do kind of feel like Wolverine needed a little boost. So having this card was just absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, I do still think she's kind of an amazing card. So she's going up in the amazing tier just because of how fun her ability was. Do I kind of need to play with her a little bit more? Definitely. But it was a very solid card. No, a definitely amazing card. Although Strife is definitely another underrated card that I do need to play, though. Because he was... Oh, no, wait, who are we at next? Yeah, Strife. So Strife was actually the Season Pass card for the X-Men End of Day season. And his ability was also kind of unique. Maybe a little bit more simpler than Ensabaner, where all you really need to do is just play like have 3 unrevealed cards in play, and then he'll use an unrevealed card's ability that's in your hand, pretty much. So it was definitely pretty cool and kind of underrated, although I don't really or haven't really used this dude too much, so I'm going to put him in needs more play. I'm going to put him in there. Techno-Organic Virus. Here's what I'll say about Techno-Organic Virus. This card came with the Super Premium Pass, the Super Premium Season Pass. It definitely had a fun ability. So it was originally a 1-cost that got more expensive when you played it, and it'll infect your cards with an ongoing ability that gives cards that were infected by Techno-Organic Virus like extra power. I think so. That's just how I remember it. It was fun, but I felt like, for me at least, it felt a little bit too clunky, especially with it's getting more expensive. I had to have a Mobius and Mobius, which basically makes it so that your cards won't get expensive. I had to have that in play, but I feel like this is another sleeper card that I do need to experiment more with. So this is another that's going to be added to the needs more play. Needs more play tier, because I do feel like it has potential to be really fun. Wolverine, Horseman of War. I'm not gonna lie, when this dude came out, I was really looking forward to see what he would do, but he kind of just fell a little bit short. So his ability was that if his total power was 5 power, he'll give cards at other locations. I think it was like +2? Or was it +4? I don't remember, but he'll give a card at each location some extra power, which was good, but you kind of had to make sure you played cards that would buff him up, otherwise it wouldn't work. That's why when Storm Horseman of Famine came out, I thought it was a really solid addition and kind of a good synergy for Wolverine. But yeah, kind of an underwhelming card. It's not terrible, but just didn't quite hold up compared to some of the other cards that came out that month. Archangel, I know some content creators really didn't like this card as much, but me, I think it was amazing, dude. It's an amazing destroy card that I have in my destroy decks, man. It's just a really fun ability. So Archangel's ability is where if you destroyed 4 cards, it'll revive one of them with like +5 power. It's pretty insane, dude. I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's pretty much everything that came out in the April season, X-Men End of Days. Now we're getting into the May season for Daredevil Crimson Twilight. I pretty much almost got every single card except for the other two, being Muse and who was the other one? Muse and Lady Bullseye. So I'm still missing both of those guys. But after that, we've got Karen Page, a 4-cost 5-power card that gave a 1, 2, and 3-cost card. I think it was like +1 power each. Which, yeah, I don't know, man. It wasn't my favorite. I'm gonna put it in terrible, not because like the ability's terrible. Like, in fact, I think it's kind of decent, but I don't know, man. I'm not gonna really use this in a lot of decks, and yeah, I'm gonna put it in terrible. Also, for a 4-cost, it's just like, why would I want to play that when I have a whole bunch of other cards that can buff out more power? Like Viv Vision, Storm Horseman of Famine could pretty much produce better power than Karen Page. So, yeah, definitely an underwhelming card. Now we've got Punisher War Machine. So the way his objective works is he'll basically pick a location, an empty location. He'll like mark an empty location, and if you win that location, you'll get like your max energy will increase for the remainder of the game. So instead of on turn 3, instead of having 3 energy, you'll have 4. And he's a really solid card if you get his ability to work. But other than that, like if you draw him late, it's not really all that good. Or if you already have all your locations empty, he isn't really all that good. But despite all those things, I actually think he's pretty good. He's not amazing, but I kind of like him. I like his ability. It's definitely unique. I think I can also even say the same for... I can also kind of say the same for Wilson Fisk and... I can kind of even say the same for cards like Stick and... or not Stick. For Shadowlands Daredevil and Wilson. I thought both of those cards... So... Shadowlands Daredevil was the base pass card that you could get, and then Wilson Fisk was also the super premium card. But the way Shadowlands Daredevil's ability worked was that he'll add 3 demons to your deck, and when you draw one of them, or when you draw a card with 6 or more power, he'll gain +2 power, which was a really fun... Do I think he's amazing? I don't know if I want to just slap him into amazing. I don't know. It's kind of tough because I like his ability, but not. I don't really think he's as good as like. Nah, you know what? Because I don't think I really did. I ever do? Did I ever do a Daredevil Crimson Twilight like ranking video? I gotta double check. Um, but all I know for sure was that. All I know for sure that. Yeah, no, I think he's just a great card. I think him and Wilson Fisk are also pretty great cards to boot, man. Like really, 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 really solid. Now, as far as Akari goes, I mean, it was pretty fun. I did put it in like an Agamotto deck. I do like the whole ability where it'll only be played. You can only play it you can only play Ikari if there were cards that were afflicted in a location, which again, it was a fun card, but I don't know, man. I'm not gonna really use this as often. I hardly ever use it. Yeah. The only reason why I'm putting it in terrible is just there's not really a lot of decks that it would really want to see play. Although Stick was decent. I do feel like Maverick is better though, but he is a pretty decent card. Now here we are, guys. We have all of the well, not all of the cards. We have most of the cards from June, so we're pretty much done with the tier list. And as you can see, not very many terrible cards, which is pretty shocking. Although there is going to be another one added, and that one's Quicksand. I don't even think it's. You know what? I'm not even going to waste my time explaining it because I don't think there's any like good point in using it. But to kind of sum it up, she basically prevents you from getting bonus energy, which there's already cards that can disable abilities that give bonus energy. So I don't know. This card just feels pointless. Although Triton was interesting, but not really that big of a standout. Not really that big of a standout, to be honest. So yeah, I thought it was relatively decent. Now we're getting into Jeff, the Baby Land Dolphin. This dude is a 2-cost, 2-power card that basically, like when you played a card in his lane, he'll give that card like +1 power. It'll reveal with +1 power, and then you can move him to another location if you wanted to. Which is definitely a fun card. It was a really fun season pass card. So I'm gonna put him here. I'm gonna put him in great tier. Jubilee Silver Surfer. I really was hoping this card was gonna be a banger. I tried it, I built like 5 different decks with this card hoping she would work, and unfortunately, look, I'm glad that they gave this card +1 power, because she started off as a 4-2, but even with the 1 power difference, she's still not that good, especially considering that she's a 4-cost. So the way her ability works is that, when you draw a card, it'll add this card's power to it. So, 3 power is not bad depending on the card that it's adding to, but yeah. I don't think the ability's terrible. I just feel like the cost, for what her cost is, it's not really ideal. And it really sucks, man, because I was really hoping this card would actually be solid. So, Jubilee Silver Surfer is going to be terrible, which really does suck. Namorita, the last card of the month. There wasn't really a lot of, good things, like, first impressions of this card weren't all that good, but I think it was pretty fun, man. I mean, yeah, you do have to kind of play this alone, but she can be pretty beneficial, man, in some cases. So, you know what? I'm going to put her here. Monstro. I feel like Monstro was just kind of underwhelming, to be honest. I mean, his ability is cool. I definitely had a good time when he came out, but I don't think he's like as crazy as I thought he was gonna be. I don't know, man. I doubt I'm really gonna see too much play, but he's an 8-cost 8 power card that basically, like, his ability is super complicated to explain. Like, let's say if you draw an 5-cost card, he'll go down to like a 3. At least I think. I don't know. Kind of forgot, but yeah, not really like, not like a big standout. So I think his ability is decent, but he was just like underwhelming. So I'm not putting him in terrible because of like his cost or like power, but I think just he's not gonna really see too much play, and I don't know, man. He just kind of was very underwhelming. I don't think I need to really say much about Venus, y'all. Venus is just incredible. The fact that she can continue adding power to cards that already have extra power is just insanity. Like, really freaking awesome, y'all. But there it is, ladies and gents. That is every single card for 2026. If there are some that I mentioned, or that I forgot to mention in this list, y'all let me know in the comments. But this is pretty much where we're at. So, in Amazing, we've got Magus, Storm, Horseman of Famine, Archangel, and Venus. For Great, we've got Dragon Lord, Kraglin, Caliban, Polaris, Horseman of Famine, or Horseman of Pestilence, and Summoner, Iska the Unbeaten, Ascani Sun, Punisher War Machine, Shadowlands Daredevil, Wilson Fisk, Jeff the Baby Land Dolphin, and Namorita. For Average, we got Lindley Iron Fist, Lockheed, Jack Flag, Starhawk, Sandstorm, and Ozymandias, Wolverine, Horseman of War, Stick, and Frighten. For Terrible, we've got Major Victory, Karen Page, Ikari, Quicksand, Jubilee Silver Surfer, and Monstro. And then in the Needs More Play tier, we've got Dragon of the Moon, Shulao, Majestic Wingbeat, Moon Dragon, Star-Lord Master of the Sun, Mother Ascani, Strife, and Techno Organic Virus. So there you guys have it. Those are all the cards that have released in 2026 so far. I'm not going to add Mary Jane or Spider-Man Brand New Day yet, as I've said, because, the season barely started. But once we do get closer to the season and I've had at least a few more of the newer cards, I will add a lot of them to this list later down the line. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and sub. You already know the drill. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Blind Snap Gaming